So special needs in my mind are accommodations made for students that have exceptionalities within a classroom. So it might be for students that are gifted, or students that have ADHD, or students that just have learning disabilities. But in a special needs classroom, accommodations must be made by the teacher for lesson planning, for carrying out activities in the class, and that can be done through differentiation and extensions, or working with that student to find tips and tasks for them that will work well and make them feel encouraged and empowered in the classroom. Inclusion, on the other hand, is something that I find also extremely important. It is something that every teacher should implement into their classroom, and should be implemented into everyday life. Inclusion, to me, is making everyone feel included around you, and the teacher's role and responsibility in this is creating a classroom environment where students can feel like they're at home, feel safe, and feel comfortable with their fellow peers and with myself. I believe that students, no matter what background, no matter what learning disabilities they may have, or their just difference in interests, should always feel safe and welcomed into their classroom. On that note, I also feel that students with learning disabilities should feel just as equal and accepted and capable of doing the things that are done in lessons and throughout tasks of the day, so that they feel like they are part of the classroom and not excluded in any way. Accommodating students with reading disabilities in the classroom is extremely important. These students are growing up with literacy all throughout their life and beyond schooling. So it is extremely important for teachers to recognize that and lesson plan or accommodate students in the classroom towards that. On that note, students with learning disabilities are often the ones that do have reading disabilities as well. So 80% approximately with learning disabilities have a reading disability as well. And that's something that teachers should keep in mind when they're looking at these students that struggle with reading or struggle with literacy. These students with learning disabilities can be accommodated first through that, and then secondly to the reading disability. And teachers should be able to do that through pre-planning or planning for learning, and then during the classroom time. With the pre-planning, the teacher needs to be looking at the purpose of their plans and what they want the outcome to be. So if a student has a reading disability but is extremely smart and creative and has amazing ideas with other subjects, the teacher shouldn't be making the task a reading task for this particular student. It could be read to them, or it could be provided to them visually through instruction. It could be given to them through examples, or even just programs online with reading advantages for these students to be able to get what they are needing with the information, and then producing something that the teacher can see and recognize that they are learning and they are understanding it, rather than making it a reading or a writing task. When it is a reading task, however, the teacher should also be providing an aid for the student to be helped read to, or given a smaller text for the student to be able to read on their own, or like I mentioned before, should be given a online program for the reading, visuals, and even just a buddy system with a buddy that might be able to help read the shorter text, or something along the lines of the student being able to feel comfortable in reading a passage and then producing work off of that. Even giving students opportunities to self-regulate and take control of their own learning by walking around the classroom, looking at word walls, looking at sight word posters, or just having a little to-do list on their classroom desk that has visuals of what strategies they might be able to use to help them read. Overall, I think a lot of it has to do with the disposition of the student. So with learning disabilities often comes learned helplessness, and that actually makes it much more harder to get past the reading disability and the learning disability if the student isn't even willing to try. So students that are motivated might be able to be given more time and be able to complete tasks that better show their understanding, whereas students that are unmotivated could be given more time and just sit there for hours and not want to actually do anything and just be unfocused or be doing something else when they don't find any purpose or necessity in completing a task at all, like reading, writing, literacy, anything. I actually have experienced something like this with a grade 2 student that I worked with that had ADHD, and I was his tutor for helping him read with a reading disability. He was extremely unmotivated. He had learned helplessness and would often take 20 to 30 minutes just to get on task. He would find things that would be a distraction to him, and that would ultimately just lead to not getting anything done. And what I found was the best focus for him in this was giving him the rewards and praise that he needed, because this student hadn't had enough praise in the past and needed that self-assurance and confidence boost for him to be able to motivate himself and actually find purpose and meaning into these little reading games, you could say. And in that, when he did feel like he was having purpose, he would say, "I'm a genius," which was insane. It was crazy to see him say that one week and then see him say, "I can't do it. I'll never understand this," that next week. It was very on and off, but ultimately trying to have this student empower himself and myself empower him as well was the most important thing that could have been done. Also providing interesting reading rhymes or games or books or text was primarily what got him through most of the school year. Again, creating that safe and open environment where mistakes are allowed to be made in the classroom is so important for students with learning disabilities, reading disabilities, and any kind of student to feel like they can take risks and move forward and feel empowered in themselves to be able to self-regulate and move and ask the teacher questions when something's unclear. A lot of the problem has to do with the disposition of the student not wanting or not focusing or not being able to put themselves into wanting to learn. That, I feel, is the most important thing that teachers can do in order to help or support students with learning disabilities or reading disabilities or anyone in the classroom. So with any type of student that you suspect might have some sort of learning disability in the classroom, I think it is so important to first talk to the principal and ask them to come in a few sessions or lessons throughout the week to see how the student is doing and if she or he agrees with your reasoning behind the suspected reasoning of why you may think that this student has some sort of learning disability or ADHD. Then it is appropriate to call or contact the parents, and preferably both the parents, to be able to meet up with you face to face and without their child being there. I think it is so important for the teachers or teacher to be able to talk with the parents one-on-one, face-to-face, so that they can understand the context, the meaning of what you're saying, and the attitude that you have going in towards the meeting. Then teachers should be asking the parents what they have seen personally at home, what examples they might have seen of unusual behavior for a student of that age or a child of that age. Then if they have seen something, then you can start to go on to what you have seen in the classroom. However, if they have not seen it, then you might have to do some more convincing of what you have seen in the classroom. In that, you should be keeping anecdotal notes and records and written responses for them to be able to view what their child has done in the classroom that has made you suspect that that child might have ADHD. In the case of ADHD, there are three different types. There's the inattentive, hyperactive, and impulsive. With students that have ADHD and parents that don't know or don't understand that yet, you might not want to explain exactly those circumstances of the categories, but you might want to explain, I have seen your student daydreaming in class or fidgeting a lot when they have to be doing work and assignments, or that they don't motivate themselves, don't work well with others, or are often off task. And then proving this with these anecdotal notes, which is so important for teachers and students and the parents to be able to notice and see where the things are going wrong that might have to do with the ADHD. Also, at the very end of the interview with the parents, you should be directing them to go for a consult with their family doctor. Say, I'm not a professional, I don't know exactly about the medical terminology or anything medical in the medical field, but if you go see your family doctor, it would ultimately make you and your family and your son or daughter feel better and feel more secure in where you are. And I would like you to move forward with that. Making academic accommodations for students with learning disabilities is something that can be done or scooted around through a variety of different ways. First, you can make assignments due or hand it in a way that the student is best going to be able to represent their learning and their knowledge. So having assignment formats through video links or through written responses are ultimately going to give the students the best possible way of representing their knowledge. Having that choice also gives them the empowerment to feel like they do have a say in their own learning. And also making the assignment depths or lengths or levels on a variety of different scales, because students might have there might be the gifted student in the classroom, or there might be the student with the reading disability. So having a variety of different extensions or shorter length assignments that still reach the program of studies outcomes can be done through the teacher by meeting those outcomes and shortening or lengthening assignments. Providing extra support for older students by giving up your own time and giving up your lunch hour some days to have them come in and ask you questions can also increase their level of understanding and make them feel more secure and make them feel like they know what they're doing and accepting of the accommodations that have been made for them. Grading students on their work and not their obedience. So I find that students should be graded on what they've been handing in, or even if it's late, what they've been giving to you that's done or at least partially done, rather than something not being done at all and not being handed in at the right time. I believe that students should be given extra time if they need it, and if they are willing to put in the work to motivate themselves to handing this assignment in, but it might not be exactly at the time that you asked for, you should be grading on the content and their learning knowledge rather than the obedience of their assignment. And finally, giving them this practice at home. So giving them assignments or giving them tasks to do at home where they can feel like they are able and capable. So first, I would like to say that I understand your concern for your student not being given as much attention or support that you think they may need in the classroom. However, I do put an extreme amount of hours into planning my lessons, and I do accommodate and take into consideration your students' needs, and I always want to become the best teacher I can be. And overall, I plan my lessons so that they are well laid out for students to be able to understand the instructions, and also being able to accommodate differentiation and extensions within the classroom so that when students finish early, they have something else that they can move on to, or if they are struggling with an assignment, they can come to me and ask me about that assignment. I do spend a lot of time trying to get the students that have more of a special need in the classroom to motivate and stay on task with their assignments. However, the other students in the classroom do know that they can come to me at any time with any questions that they have to be able to ask me for help and ask for maybe guidance with the assignment or instructions. Also, I have set up a buddy system in my classroom where students will first go to a buddy and ask them if they have a question, they can ask their friend and ask someone that they trust. And then if that still is not working, then they can come to me. And of course, if they don't feel comfortable going to the partner first, they can always come to me first. And if it's multiple students that are coming up to me with this same question, then I'll likely stop class and I will re-explain the lesson over again, and I'll re-explain the instruction. The reason why I have to work with the students with special needs is because they will often not stay focused and not even begin to work if I'm not helping or I'm not there for them to be able to move forward. And with that, I would like to say that your student is incredibly independent. Your student, I have noticed, is able to self-regulate and move forward independently with their own tasks and don't always need me there. So I'm there when she has a question, she or he has a question, but I'm ultimately trying to distribute my time through all the different students in the classroom. And yeah, like I want you to know that your student is able to self-regulate when other students might not be able to, and that's where my focus and my attention needs to go to at certain times. So is there any other questions or possibilities that you would like me to try in the classroom that would accommodate the needs of your student any better than what I could possibly do now?